Thomas Farinella, the defense attorney for Robert Kelly in the New York trial, did challenge the jury instructions for RICO. He put in front of Judge Ann Donnelly a motion that challenged the instructions because his argument was only one person was charged. Nobody else in this case was charged. Therefore, this cannot be RICO, and it's going to confuse the jury. That was September 22nd, 2021. If you have the transcripts, it's in the pages from 4239 roughly to 4310. And you'll see that Farinella did put that argument in front of Judge Ann Donnelly. Judge Ann Donnelly was confused by the instructions. She took it out. Then government argued. She put it back in. But this was the appealable issue that the appellate judge, Sullivan, referred to 3 separate times, which, to his credit, Thomas Farinella did challenge the jury instructions in the lower court in front of Judge Ann Donnelly, and he put the motions forward. This was a perfect opportunity for BONJEAN to use that to win this appeal on the RICO charge.
That takes us to the second case on our argument calendar, United States versus Kelly. All right, and is it Ms. BONJEAN or BONJEAN? How do you pronounce your name?
The appellate judge, Sullivan, did not know her name, says she's not in front of the Second Circuit often enough that he even knew who she was, which challenges the notion that she's a high-profile appeals attorney, but the Second Circuit appellate judge, Sullivan, didn't even know her name.
May it please the court, my name is Jennifer BONJEAN and I represent Robert Kelly.
Judge Sullivan came back to the jury instructions 3 separate times. 3 times he asked her, are you challenging the jury instructions?
Like every RICO indictment seemingly in history, the government charged the defendant with being the member of an enterprise that had a common purpose of carrying out an illegal or illicit activity.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand, are you challenging the jury instruction, which didn't say that the RICO enterprise had to have an illegal purpose?
No, Your Honor, I'm not challenging the jury instruction, nor could the jury instruction be challenged. The jury instruction is entirely consistent with United States versus Boyle. In fact, it's almost word for word the same jury instruction.
She doubled down and tripled down on the jury instructions were fine. They were in accordance with Boyle. She's saying the jury instructions are consistent with RICO cases, but she's arguing this isn't a fucking RICO case. Oh my God.
I guess, A, what's the authority for that? And B, isn't that really a challenge to the jury instruction?
I don't believe it is. I think that...
Well, did the district court tell the jury that they had to find an illegal purpose so there could be no enterprise?
No, but the indictment did, and the indictment was incorporated.
No, the indictment listed a series of purposes.
Yes, series of purposes pled in the conjunctive.
On September 22nd, 2021, defense attorney for R. Kelly, Thomas Farinella, argued and put a motion in front of Judge Ann Donnelly stating that the jury instructions were improper. He, in fact, challenged the jury instructions because he said Robert Kelly was the only person charged in this case. Therefore, there could be no RICO. There could be no enterprise if only one person was charged in the case. So he did put that in a motion in front of Judge Ann Donnelly.
But I guess I'm asking a basic question to start, which is that if the government had just listed the legal purposes, your view is that that would not be sufficient for a RICO indictment?
No, in fact, district courts routinely dismiss complaints that do not demonstrate that the purpose of the common or the enterprise is illegal in nature. In fact, neither party's been able to find a...
On September 22nd, 2021, defense attorney for Robert Kelly, Thomas Farinella, challenged the jury instruction for RICO and got it preserved on the record of his objection to that being included in the jury instructions. Judge Ann Donnelly agreed with him, took it out, put it back in, threw some back and forth, but he made it very clear that the judge needed to distinguish that the enterprise couldn't just be Mr. Kelly, and no one else in the case was charged, so this can't possibly be RICO. That argument went on from the transcript pages 4230 to roughly to 4310, 4315, somewhere in there, if you have the transcripts from the New York trial for Robert Kelly. It is on the record. It is preserved on the record. It was a challenge to the jury instructions.
But I mean, you're not challenging the jury instructions, so you're agreeing that everything the district court told the jury they needed to find was correct, right?
Your Honor, the jury instructions were consistent with every jury instruction ever given in a RICO case, historically. And frankly, is consistent with what the United States Supreme Court held in Boyle.
Right.
I don't know how.
So the jury wasn't asked to read out portions of the statute. The
Again,
jury was correctly instructed. I guess I'm trying to figure out. You're saying that the evidence didn't support the elements that were correctly instructed to the jury.
What I'm saying, Your Honor, is that the government had an obligation, and in fact, the jury was instructed that the government had to prove the theory of the enterprise. The theory of the enterprise included criminal conduct that was pled in the conjunctive. And if it had been just simply legal activity pled in that indictment, it would have been dismissed.
Appellate Judge Sullivan is stating very clearly 3 different times, if you're saying this isn't RICO, why aren't you challenging the jury instructions? And it was already preserved on the record by Farinella that the jury instructions were challenged. So had she referred to that, we challenged it in front of Ann Donnelly. I'm challenging it here. He was giving her the win.
And we're not quarreling with that. But you can't just have an organization that is not associated with any crime. Simply speaking, a RICO enterprise is a criminal organization. You can define it broadly, but is not an organization simply with a criminal.
The jury based their decisions on the evidence that they heard, the witnesses that they heard, and the instructions that they were given. If you're saying this is not a RICO case, common sense says you need to challenge some part of what the jurors ruled on, either the witnesses, the evidence, or the instructions. BONJEAN bombs again. The appeals court Judge Sullivan is handing her 3 different clues that she needs to be challenging the jury instructions. And she keeps arguing and shooting herself in the foot.